Welcome to Electrified, it's your host Dylan Loomis. So first up today, we mentioned this previously, but this month we have Dash, a new fleet of Tesla Model Ys that will be transporting in Tampa and surrounding areas for $2 per ride. Dash will operate 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Saturday and noon to 9 p.m. on Sunday. With this service, you can only get picked up at 20 different hubs scattered around downtown, and this is set to go live sometime toward the middle of this month. The Dash app will pair up to 4 passengers to share a trip, and they'll be driven around by Drive ambassadors that are downtown guides. To start, this service will be available in these 7 downtown neighborhoods. Next up, Dash operating with no driver and maybe software serving as the rider's guide. Tesla North America just posted on X, if an airbag is deployed, hazard lights will automatically activate and flash faster to improve visibility. Update now rolling out to all US Model 3 and Y as well as S and X vehicles 2020 and newer. I do think it would be really nice to be able to activate this feature manually rather than only having it happen if an airbag is deployed, just in case you're in an environment where the typical hazards or four-ways may not be enough. I think most people in the Tesla community are at a point where we all just take these continuous software updates for granted, but the reality is we really should not. Just some quick comedy for you today. JP Morgan raised its Tesla stock price target to 135, saying, "We primarily attribute the continued collapse in Tesla consensus delivery volume, revenue, earnings, and cash flow to a misextrapolation of earlier trends, with a pinch of irrational exuberance thrown in." Collapsing delivery volume, they say. Well, looking at this chart from James Stevenson, not sure that's the most astute take I've ever seen. But maybe in this backwards clown world that some people are still living in, that would make some sense. The Model 3 Highland is now available for sale in Thailand. 2 variants available, the rear-wheel drive and the dual-motor all-wheel drive long range. Looking at the Tesla Thailand configurator, they do have enhanced autopilot and full self-driving available for purchase. You may also notice right now there is no estimated delivery date for this vehicle, but step number 1 complete. Earlier this year, Tesla opened up a flagship store in Bangkok, Thailand, and just a few weeks ago we heard the Prime Minister say Tesla may be looking into an EV manufacturing facility, while Microsoft and Google may be looking at data centers. Volkswagen has just hired an ex-Tesla engineering director, Sanjay Lal, to head a new department at the software unit Cariad. Sanjay most recently worked at Rivian, and now he'll be tasked with developing VW's next-gen software platform. Not sure they ever really had a first gen. This Cariad unit's output will first be applied to 2 vehicle projects for Audi and VW, but then form the basis for scaling the software architecture across VW brands. Previously, Sanjay was the vice president of the software platform at Rivian. He worked at Tesla for 2 years as a director of engineering, and he also spent 2 years as a director of engineering for Android Auto. You may recall Oliver Bloom ordered a review of Cariad strategy last year. The director of this Cariad division said the rethink took 6 weeks of intensive workshops, sometimes emotional. And just like many of the legacy OEMs have been saying, Cariad will be focusing on level 3 automated driving. I think some of us have been thinking something like this was inevitable, but Astrid shared a picture of a Cybertruck with the graffiti art on it, but there was also apparently Starlink on the roof. Starlink Mobile is actually designed for permanent installation to your vehicle, and it also offers the highest tier of availability, so when the network is congested, if you have Starlink Mobile, you will get top priority. I could speculate on this for a while, but for now, I'll just say it's something to keep an eye on. Chuck Cook shared a quick video of a Tesla ADAS driver working on his famous unprotected left turn, maybe validating something for version 12, but that's just speculation. Although it sounds like there's a chance this was the first time a Tesla employee ADAS driver was back to that same location since they were doing testing for 10.69. You know how with Tesla, at any point you can get a copy of all of your personal data? Well, I would encourage every one of you to do the same thing for your entire online profile. Ashley and myself, to a lesser extent, are somewhat private people, so when we found out about all of the data brokers that were literally selling our personal information, naturally, we were not happy about it. Thankfully, there's an easy solution to this problem without having to spend hours and hours calling hundreds of different data brokers asking them to remove your personal information. Shout out to Delete Me, the sponsor of this video. So why Delete Me? Well, you do have to trust this company because you have to give them your personal info for them to then go ahead and remove it from the web. But after watching every review video online and learning that they've been doing this for over 10 years, they're headquartered in the United States, I really liked everything I found and felt good about going forward. I'll just show you so you can see for yourself. This is my first privacy report. Delete Me just found 349 pieces of my personal identifiable information, and this first time around they deleted 84 separate listings. In these periodic reports, they'll tell you which company or broker they reached out to, the status of the removal, and what information that site actually had about you. And what's really nice about Delete Me, even once they remove your information from websites and let you know, they'll continue to do these scans every 90 days. With Delete Me, you also get your very own personal privacy advisor in case you have any questions or personal requests. I was able to get you guys 20% off all of the consumer plans with my code Electrified at joindeleteme.com/electrified, linked below. And to Jason, my Delete Me rep, if you see this, thank you for saving me hours and hours of monotonous time. If you go to the Tesla Model Y configurator and scroll down, you will find something new. We now have a rear-wheel drive Model Y for $43,990. 260 miles of range, 135 mile an hour top speed, and 0 to 60 of 6.6 seconds. Before any incentives, this is now $6,500 cheaper than the Model Y long range. Looking at the specs of this new variant, the weight 4,154 pounds, roughly 200 pounds lighter than both the long range and performance variants, which come in just under 4,400 pounds. Two other key differences with this variant: max supercharging rate 170 kilowatts and no 7-seat variant, at least not yet. So yes, I would agree, it seems like an LFP pack vehicle, which would allow you to charge to 100% as often as you want and effectively give you much more range than if you had NMC and could only charge to 80 or 90%. The only thing holding me back from being more confident with that statement is that on the Tesla configurator for the Model Y, it says nothing about the credits being reduced as of next year. When if this was an LFP pack coming from China, just like we're about to see with the Model 3, we would expect maybe a 50% reduction in the credit. I say that because if you go to the Model 3 configurator page at the top with that banner, reductions likely after December 31st. That wording does not exist on the Model Y configurator. You may remember a few weeks back there was a Model Y all-wheel drive variant for about $48,000 with 279 miles of range compared to the 260 now. There are some people out there now saying this is the cheapest Model Y ever, but as Sawyer pointed out, if you go back to February 2021, you'll see Tesla was offering a rear-wheel drive standard range Model Y for under $40,000. $39,990. That model was a bit faster but had 16 miles less range. Either way, for the average consumer to get a Model Y for around $36,000 after the IRA tax credit is going to be an incredibly tough proposition for any of the competition. Speaking of that, AJ is continuing to do some good work. He shared this chart with some other popular electric SUVs in the US and said that the Model Y will be undercutting the average price of the competition by between 25 and 30%, or $11,000 to $13,000. Now yes, you can make the argument an entry-level Model Y and a Polestar 3 are not really direct competitors. Polestar is aiming for the much more luxury premium category. You can actually buy two Model Y rear-wheel drives for the price of one Polestar 3. I hope this serves as a great reminder that when it comes to all of the Tesla demand chatter, Tesla still has so many different types of levers that it can pull when it comes to incentives and even changing the actual vehicle lineup. I do want to mention not all of these numbers are going to be perfectly accurate. For example, the weight of this Model Y rear wheel drive is different, as we just saw on the Tesla webpage. But I did go through and check some of the other price and range figures, and enough of them checked out. So now we'll wait and see how long this new variant will last for Tesla, but for now, it's good to see them expand the lineup. I just briefly wanted to share these 4 charts from the Financial Times. This data is from the IEA. We have solar additions, electric car sales, residential heat pump sales, and battery storage additions. I really don't think I need to say too much here. I'm sure you can all pick up on the trends that all of these 4 charts are showing, putting us squarely in this energy transition at a time when the pace is starting to pick up, and Tesla is positioned arguably the best of any company on the planet to take advantage of these trends. And maybe it's not until later in the decade, but I'm pretty confident at some point we will see a Tesla residential HVAC system that utilizes their heat pump technology. Per the usual, it's not going to be about timing the market, it'll just be time in the market. The Bearded Tesla Guy YouTube channel made a road trip to find a Cybertruck, and he got some nice up close footage, so just wanted to share a few quick clips.
Let's see what we got under here. You can kind of see up through the bed right there, so there's a pretty sizable space right here, and for trucks that can sometimes be just to allow water out, you know, if there's moisture in the bed, but it does not look like it's going to seal like some trucks do. It's interesting. That's actually, I don't know if that'll be on the final version or not, but that is too much of a gap to be a sealed bed. The tread pattern is really, I mean, it's a good aggressive pattern, but it's not overly aggressive like some of the earlier prototypes that we saw, which is good for mileage, of course. And I like the how this is integrated. Looks pretty cool. Actually, holy cow. Okay, that's a really thick ABS. Let's see if I can zoom in here. We can see the thickness of the steel. Really, really, really hard to tell. But you can see, look how thick that door is. It's pretty thick. This one's had some heat applied to it. Yeah, so this one's 2 generations behind what they're shipping right now. And I believe there's one more to go. But I really like these wheels. These wheels are really nice and chunky. They're 20-inch. I think that's the right size for this, especially with a big chunky tire like that. Got the armrest down, and there's the perforated seats that we've seen a lot of. There's the screen. It does have the screen, so it's a more recent build, which is cool. And then here's the front cab. Very nice. There you go. A little bit nicer look inside there. Sorry about the wind. There's the front dash and everything else that's really cool inside.
Shout out to Justin for making that trip. And then we have the surfing hippie on X sharing some images of the Cybertruck with that new graffiti. Personally, I think it fits the Cybertruck aesthetic perfectly, and you can see the green one here and then a yellow one here. We got an update from Morton on the Tesla ship situation. So we have 9 Tesla ships right now sailing for Q4 deliveries, some close to arrival. Now, I've heard conflicting reports about how many Tesla vehicles can fit on a ship. I've seen as low as 2,000 and as high as 5,000. So if you roughly split the difference and go with around 3,000, that could be in the neighborhood of 25 to 27,000 Teslas that are on these ships just waiting to be delivered. I just wanted to make 2 points with this. 1, Tesla's inventory numbers are nowhere near being a problem still. Don't forget about things like this. And 2, this sets up beautifully for Q4. A large portion of these cars are probably Model 3 Plus vehicles that Tesla could not deliver locally in China that they instead decided to export to Europe. No, I don't think Cybertruck will make any meaningful contributions to Q4, and I do think some people may wait until next year to buy their Tesla so they can take advantage of the point of sale tax credit. Either way though, I think we're setting up for a strong Q4. In the event, you have an OG Tesla Roadster. For the first time since Tesla launched this new battery pack 3.0 for the original Roadster back in 2015, they have increased the price of this replacement. Drive Tesla got their hands on an internal Tesla memo, and the upgrade will now cost 38% more than before at $40,000 US. Tesla said they had to increase the price to more accurately reflect the complexity in building these battery packs, and the change is effective immediately. There was an interesting chart shared by Xander on X comparing early Rivian deliveries with early Tesla deliveries. However, should be noted, the Tesla deliveries started with the Model S, excluding the Roadster sales, which I think makes sense. I don't want to take anything away from Rivian because they've been doing great work. I just wanted to highlight Tesla back in 2012 with no real meaningful battery supply chain and so many more hurdles at that time. It's not really a great apples to apples comparison. Today, electric vehicles are much more widely accepted, but again, I think the biggest difference is the existence of the battery supply chain that Tesla really has spearheaded the development of. Not to mention all of the funding and investment that Rivian may have never seen had it not been for Tesla. So just wanted to get that out there, but again, not taking anything away from Rivian. I thought this was a cool comparison. Samsung has teamed up with Lucid for a cutting-edge wall. This new wall at Lucid's design studio will enhance the collaborative design process for its future EV models. While designing the Lucid Air Sapphire from concept sketches all the way to final adjustments, Samsung enabled us to visualize the future of our vehicles in high resolution at all stages of development. A 255-inch class high resolution display. Powered by micro LED technology, it allows Lucid's designers to view and review their designs in true to life color at 1:1 scale. With this new tech, we can effortlessly visualize design data that incorporates engineering feedback and simulation results, allowing us to promptly assess the effects of any alteration on the overall design. Remember how those lawyers wanted $230 million in legal fees for that deal that they settled with some Tesla directors over their compensation that they will now be returning? Yeah, Tesla's not really going to go for that. They said those fees were demonstrably unreasonable and were roughly 4 times what the lawyers should earn for leading the investor lawsuit. We don't need to get into the nitty-gritty here, but I do think it's worth noting they said regardless of what it costs the directors and how much they have to give back, this agreement settlement is only going to be worth about $295 million to Tesla. This is part of why they're arguing that that settlement amount for those lawyers is ridiculous. These legal briefs from Tesla were filed back September 22nd, but were just made public yesterday. We'll see what happens. Volvo has just announced the price of their entry-level EX30 electric vehicle. You're going to have single motor variants with 275 miles of range between $36,000 and $41,000. Then you can step up to a twin motor performance all-wheel drive variant with around 265 miles of range between $46,000 and $48,000. The EX30 will be Volvo's smallest electric vehicle in their fleet, and the small packs have a 69 kilowatt-hour pack. Deliveries are set to begin summer 2024. They are going to be made in China though, so they will not qualify for the IRA tax credit. 0 to 60 in 3.4 seconds. They do come with a heat pump. They can tow up to 2,000 pounds. They have the Thor hammer headlamps. A comparable vehicle size-wise would be the Hyundai Kona. The EX30 has 32 cubic feet of cargo capacity, a lot of hard plastic inside. There's no instrument cluster, just one main touchscreen like Tesla, and they have the phone chargers and ambient lighting, again like Tesla. They use a Google touchscreen. There's a Harman Kardon audio sound system, max charging speeds of 153 kilowatts, and it has a 360-degree camera. Personally, I think this car has some juice. What do you guys think? GM has officially begun deliveries of both the Silverado and the Chevy Blazer EVs, selling 18 and 19 respectively in Q3. More importantly, GM is starting to get some level of traction with its more established electric vehicles. The Cadillac Lyriq sold 3,018 units in the Q3, up from 36 last year, and 1,167 Hummer EVs in the quarter, up from 411 a year ago. And they're saying GM said again it expects to build more EVs through the second half of this year. Well, we're already through one half of the second half of the year, so we're running out of time. It really is too soon to see any significant impact from the UAW strikes on GM's third quarter sales. Those strikes began September 15th, so that wasn't a whole lot of time. GM's electric vehicle sales did increase 28% compared to quarter two. It'll be very interesting to see what GM does with the Bolt because again, it is their best selling electric vehicle. Its combined sales are up 125% year to date. The total through the third quarter already exceeds that of 2022. And yes, those Silverado EV deliveries are right now only fleet customers. Cadillac Lyriq sales in the third quarter up 124% compared to Q2. The threshold that I'm personally always looking for is 10,000 units of a full electric vehicle being sold month after month. So far in the United States, no one else outside of Tesla is pulling off that feat. We talked about how Ford was going to pause the construction of the battery plant in Michigan, the joint venture with CATL. Ford is still getting public funding for that site, and now Ford is saying that regardless of what happens with the CATL deal, they will use that location for some sort of production regardless, and thus it's still being prepared for that purpose. This third-party company Wallbridge is actually doing the site prep work now. It's only the Ford component of the work that has been paused. Good news for Rivian R1S fans, as you can now configure one with the Max Pack battery, which has an estimated range of 400 miles. Compared to the large pack, the Max Pack is $10,000 extra and offers 48 extra miles of range. Ford was trying to instill some new rules when it comes to dealerships and selling electric vehicles, but now we have a judge ruling that we may see a pause on those rules. A judge has blocked Ford and Lincoln from imposing facility and business requirements on 5 dealerships to sell EVs until the retailer's lawsuit challenging Ford's dealer agreement changes is resolved. The question before the court is not whether the programs are reasonable or whether participation is voluntary. Instead, the question before the court is whether the effect of Ford's EV programs modifies the franchise business relationship. Each states that a non-participating dealer may not sell or service Ford EVs. This would be a significant change in the current business model. For now though, this situation is still up in the air. Yesterday, the UAW made a counteroffer to GM, but GM indicated the two sides were still not close to an agreement. A source said this was the union's first comprehensive counter to GM's most recent proposal. Ford said it has now laid off a total of 930 workers in connection with the strike. When it comes to Q3 sales, Stellantis continues to struggle. Third quarter volume slipped 1.3%, and Jeep and Ram posted declines of 4.2 and 3.5%. Jeep volume has now dropped 9 straight quarters. We have a very unfortunate story of a Cruise robotaxi being involved in an incident with a pedestrian in San Francisco. Ultimately, this woman who suffered multiple traumatic injuries was trapped underneath the robotaxi, but Cruise is saying it was a separate vehicle that hit the woman first and then essentially knocked her right into the path of the Cruise robotaxi. We don't need to get into the gruesome details, but just know that right now this accident is still being investigated. What's that saying, when it rains it pours? Well, GM and Stellantis may be facing almost $10 billion in fines if Biden's proposal to hike fuel economy standards in 2032 goes through. NHTSA then said these estimated fines are consistent with our statutory obligations, adding automakers are free to use electric vehicles to comply and avoid penalties altogether. And we have Ford introducing the F-150 Lightning Flash, a new tech-forward model. It'll be available January 2024, and it's supposed to cost under $70,000. This one will have an extended range battery with a targeted EPA range of 320 miles. The Flash, more tech features at a more affordable price. We're still waiting for more word on what's going on with the rest of the F-150 Lightning cancellations. Don't forget, check out Delete Me linked below. Take advantage of that discount. If you do, thank you in advance. It does really help the channel. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Please like the video. If you did, you can find me on X linked below. And a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.